Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a super important story, one that I think every single one of us needs to hear, no matter how old you are. It's about words, feelings, and how we treat each other. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll see why kindness isn't just a good idea, it's absolutely essential. Let me introduce you to Micky the Mockingbird. Now, Micky wasn't just any bird. He had an amazing talent. He could copy any sound he heard perfectly. A dog barking, a cat meowing, even the squeak of a rusty gate, Micky could mimic it all. It was truly incredible. But here's the thing about Micky. He didn't always use his amazing gift for good. Instead, he used his talent to, well, make fun of everyone. Look at you, he'd chirp, and then he'd mimic how someone talked or how they moved, exaggerating everything just to get a laugh. He thought it was hilarious. He'd puff out his chest, enjoying the attention, as if the whole forest was his personal comedy show. He never stopped to think about how his audience actually felt, or how the subject of his jokes felt. To him, it was all just a big game, a way to show off his cool talent. But was it cool? Let's find out. One sunny afternoon, Paula the Platypus was waddling along the riverbank. Now, platypuses have a unique way of moving, a little bit of a waddle, and it's perfectly natural for them. But Micky saw an opportunity. As Paula ambled by, Micky zoomed down, landing right in front of her. He puffed up his chest, spread his wings a bit, and then, in a high-pitched, exaggerated voice, he started mimicking her waddle. "Look how weird she walks," he squawked, flapping his wings in a silly, clumsy way, stumbling over invisible obstacles. And you know what? A few other animals, who hadn't really thought about it before, started to snicker. Then some started to laugh. And Micky, seeing the reaction, only got louder, only got more dramatic with his imitation. Paula, who had been enjoying her walk just moments before, froze. Her bill drooped. Her eyes, usually so bright and curious, filled with tears. Her heart didn't just feel sad. It shattered into a million tiny pieces right there on the riverbank. All she wanted was for the ground to swallow her whole. She didn't say a word, didn't even look back. She just turned around, her waddle suddenly feeling heavy and shameful, and ran, or rather, scurried away, crying silent tears that splashed onto the path. The laughter continued for a moment, and Micky, oblivious, just preened. But the story doesn't end there. The days turned into weeks, and Paula stopped coming out. The other animals would call for her. "Paula, come out and play." But she never did. She stayed hidden in her burrow, deep beneath the earth, refusing to show her face. She was too ashamed, too humiliated to be seen. Every time she thought about stepping outside, she pictured Micky's mocking face, heard the echoing laughter, and felt the shame wash over her again. "Everyone thinks I'm weird," she sobbed, burying her face in her paws. "They laugh at me. They laugh at how I walk." Micky's joke, that one moment of cruel entertainment, had completely destroyed her spirit. She used to love exploring, swimming in the cool river, but now, even the thought of her own reflection brought fresh waves of despair. That funny moment had stolen her joy, her confidence, and a connection to the world outside her burrow and Micky. Well, he moved on to his next target. His eyes landed on Gary the giraffe. Now, Gary was a gentle giant, kind and thoughtful, but he had always been a little self-conscious about his incredibly long neck. It made him stand out, and sometimes he wished he could just blend in. Micky, seeing this slight insecurity, swooped down. "Ha ha ha, look at that neck," he squawked, circling Gary's head. "It goes on and on and on. How do you even keep it up?" Micky stretched his own tiny neck as far as it could go, bobbing his head ridiculously. Again, some of the other animals, who hadn't known Micky's previous victim, chuckled. Gary, trying to be a good sport, forced a strained smile. He tried to brush it off, to pretend it didn't bother him. But inside, Micky's words, those seemingly innocent words, felt like sharp knives. They cut deep, tearing at his quiet insecurity. He'd always known his neck was long, but Micky's mockery made it feel like a flaw, a defect, something to be ashamed of. He wanted to curl up and disappear, but how do you do that when you're a giraffe? That night, long after Micky had flown off to find his next joke, Gary made his way to a quiet watering hole. The moon was bright, casting shimmering reflections on the water's surface. Gary bent his long neck, slowly, carefully, until he could see his own reflection. He stared at it for a long, long time. "I hate my neck," he thought, the words a heavy stone in his heart. "Everyone thinks it's funny. Everyone thinks it's silly." He touched his long, elegant throat with a hoof, wishing with all his might that it was shorter, wishing he looked different, wishing he could just be normal. Micky's cruel mockery, delivered with such a careless laugh, had poisoned how Gary saw himself. It had taken a unique, beautiful feature and twisted it into a source of deep shame and self-loathing. The world, through Micky's eyes, suddenly felt like a place where kindness was optional and mockery was entertainment. But then, something started to shift in the forest. The other animals, who had once laughed along, started to feel uncomfortable. They saw Paula hiding, heard Gary's sad sighs, and a quiet understanding began to grow amongst them. They realized that Micky's jokes weren't funny anymore. They were hurtful. So, one day, as Micky was about to start another round of mocking, they decided to do something. As he chirped out a silly imitation of a squirrel's chattering, a brave little squirrel piped up. "Your voice is annoying," he squeaked, mimicking Micky's own high-pitched, irritating tone. Then a badger chimed in. "And your feathers are ugly. Why do you always puff them out like that?" Others joined in. "You're just a loud mouth. Your mimicking is boring." Micky, who had always been the one dishing out the insults, suddenly found himself on the receiving end. His usual confident smile disappeared. His feathers drooped. He felt a sharp sting, a crushing weight in his chest. That hurts," he gasped, his voice barely a whisper, trembling with genuine shock and pain. The squirrel looked at him, eyes wide. "We're just joking," he replied, using Micky's exact words, his own defense, thrown back at him, cutting deeper than he could have ever imagined. It was a mirror, reflecting his cruelty right back into his own face. And for the first time, Micky understood. Overcome with a feeling he'd never truly experienced before, shame and genuine remorse, Micky flew off. His usual joyful chirps replaced by quiet, desperate whimpers. He searched until he found Paula, still hidden in her burrow, her eyes red and puffy. Then he found Gary, standing alone, gazing wistfully at the horizon. With a heavy heart, Micky approached them. I'm so sorry," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. I never knew it hurt this much." He truly was crying now, the weight of his past actions pressing down on him. Paula and Gary looked at him, their expressions a mix of surprise and lingering sadness. They nodded slowly, acknowledging his apology, but the pain was still there. It wasn't something that could just disappear with a simple sorry. Gary still glanced at his neck with a twinge of insecurity. Paula still hesitated before venturing out, the fear of laughter a constant shadow. Mockery doesn't just wash away like dirt, it scars forever. It leaves deep, invisible wounds that, even with time and apologies, may never fully heal. And that, my friends, is the powerful lesson we learn from Micky, Paula, and Gary. Words have immense power. They can build up, they can encourage, they can bring joy, but they can also tear down, they can devastate, and they can inflict pain that lasts a lifetime. "I'm just joking" is never an excuse for cruelty. Making fun of how someone looks, how they talk, or how they act is simply not okay. It's not funny, it's not clever, and it's certainly not kind. Each of us has unique qualities that make us special, and those differences should be celebrated, not mocked. So, let's all try to be more like the animals who learned from Micky's mistake. Let's choose kindness. Let's choose understanding. Let's choose to lift each other up, not tear each other down. Because a world where everyone feels safe, respected, and loved is a much, much better place for all of us. Thank you so much for watching and for listening to this important message. If this story resonated with you, please give this video a big thumbs up. Share it with someone who needs to hear it, and do you want to forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories that inspire and teach us how to be better humans. We really appreciate your support. See you next time.